a few things. I'm going to check a few things out. Trying to think of a battle that I could recall that's in the current, like, what's everything. I have to get up early, head over to the VA, so, I can't really go back to sleep. And so, I should be knocking out some of my Wilker's test, whatever. It's funny, like, people, how people, like, look at education as, like, this hard thing to attain, and then when I was in the Marine Corps, I had people, like, at UH, like, look down at me. I was like, oh, man, these people in the military, they have to join the military. They can't get a education. And, of course, you gotta deal with the other races shit, to being in infantry. It's like, you're in the Marines, whatever, and then literally the people we serve with, because you're only like person of color, it's like, you got cool people, whatever, and then all of a sudden you got these other people occasionally you run into. It's like, this guy really Marine, like I'm talking about. And you could tell because people, come up to you later and you could tell look on, people's faces and and then it's like, you get the nod like, oh, nice Marine, saying you could see the change on their face and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's how it usually goes. Sometimes it's just like, and then they look for another reason, because they want to justify the racism, or whatever, I talk about. Of course, the Marines piece it out or whatever, always cool, whatever. But it's like, but the thing is, like, them being in college, they want to like look down. It's like, or whatever, that kind of thing, that kind of vibe. I'm talking about. Usually, we don't usually feel it, but the few times that I feel it, I try to justify it like that. I'm talking about. And you see, like, Army and other people, I guess, had to deal with it more. I guess definitely you have more color, but at least I had like Marines, sort of switched a little bit. So but the thing is, I think education is a lot of is perception, and I know people say like, oh, it's perception, but we live in like whatever. But one person told me when I was in like in college, it's just like it's an act, we got to pretend like this one guy from Boston, whatever. It's just like, yeah, I got all these classes and they're easy, whatever. So a lot of people could do these classes. I'm like, yeah, without a doubt, access and all that other stuff, and I believe in that too. But he just sat down and it's like, yeah, I mean, there's people back in Boston, this shop, this factory, whatever, a lot smarter than me. I'm talking about. I'm going to go back home. I gotta say, that I'm all brilliant and shit like that. It's all bullshit acting. Of course, it's just how it is. It's how we look at education. But I mean, we all know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, people know it has to do with like you have your own business and this and that and everything else. But I mean, it's one of those factors. Without a doubt, it's one of the factors. But I think like, and so I think that's what pushed me to get a degree because when I was in the Marine Corps, or whatever, which got me out of trouble and everything, the only score I got was 100%. And I don't recall, maybe one time I wasn't the first person finished. I was always the first person finished with 100%. And I didn't realize people were taking notes on what I was doing as I was taking the test. And then I finally caught on that people were watching me take these tests and looking when I was handing it in. And so then right when I noticed that, I turned it up. I was like, fuck it. People watching me. What I'm talking about? I was like, the shit is fast. It's like, how you just like casually just do a boom, 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 whatever. I was like, fuck that shit. It's like put that shit down. Talking and then, saying and then really that's when things, people started to take notice and shit like that. You know what I mean? Then I was called in. I had an officer look at my shit, what I'm talking about. And I was taking my test, whatever, in infantry school, I was sitting at a desk And guy was holding pencils. This officer sergeant was staring at the upside of the desk. Another Marine was staring at my paper, and then another person had a stack of papers. So put the paper down in front of me, did that part of the test. I was handed off to somebody, got a new pencil, took the test or whatever, and then the guy on a timer or whatever, on the Marine Corps. And then and finish the test, wasn't the quickest test I took, but I try to get it done as quick as possible. It's 100%, and what I was told later on was that if we're going to push people who are as dark as you up, we have to make sure that other people, that we have witnesses, because we don't want to be caught, pushing up someone that's not white, so. But that was the Marine Corps, back in the day, so very racist, the very last hold of Nazism, I'm talking about certain groups of it, they knew what they had to confront with, and we had to confront very loyal contingents of Nazism. You need to make sure everything is written down, what I mean? And so you got good people that way, the bad people, but you have to do certain things so that goodness always, that Nazism, I'm talking about that racism you can run into. But I'm glad at least the first time that it was so, I would say litigious, sporadic or whatever, bureaucratic or whatever, but just very, not structured, what's the word, analyzed almost dispassionately and emotionally about what you could do and obtain more than anywhere else in the country. So it's just like, it just wakes you up, you know what I mean? Like, this is possible for skill and talent to rise up, and that competition to be analyzed, of course, and that's the type of people who are in special forces, brilliant, physically fit and everything like that. Of course, I'm cursed with, bone disorder, but it is what it is. But anyways, I take that knowing that out of the hundreds of people that came through, well, hundreds, thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that came through, I have this intellectual ability. And so I was like, the long story, which I should have, the Marine Corps gave me the ability that I could get a degree. Then I realized that the odds are that, I'm talking about, so I was like, I'll get a degree. So when I was in, I was like, so people won't look down on me or whatever, just for that simple fact. I'm talking about, so got a degree. That's exactly why I got a degree. No bullshit and long story. All the little nuances, whatever to it. Easter eggs, whatever you want to call it. So now they look down on me because I don't have enough money. What I'm talking about? So now I'm going to make a lot of money. So, see, next chapter of my life. But you just keep pushing. I'm going to be sure of something else after that, So then tackle that problem. As they come along, bigger things to smaller things, prioritize. It's all an act, For the most part, I mean, we all have this capability and skill. It's what we believe we could obtain. A lot of it we push for. We accentuate who we are with the people around us, So I like, honestly, because I am someone that has skin color. I only want people that know how to push for civil rights a certain way. And I think certain level, and I hate to say like I filter people out, but just for I wouldn't say survival, like survival instinct now, but more of I can't waste time not dealing with someone like a certain psychology of being positive, of just being intellectually acute enough, how to handle different people's successful people, that kind of thing. Because I need to absorb that and constantly, because like when you deal with racism, they're constantly, it's not just one thing you're racist about. It's just constant going through and trying to make it not look racist. So it's and the smarter, the better you get become, the more intelligent those attacks are. So it doesn't look racist, whatever. So it's this constant thing of not just backstabbing or whatever and that kind of thing. A lot of other things. So you need intelligent people around you, that could guard against all that other stuff. It's because it's constant. I mean, it's what anybody has to do is successful. It's just normal. Um, I don't know. So I just want to. So you can't reach out to everybody you want to, and your first impression is to be friendly with everybody, but a lot of it's counterproductive because they're just not at the same um, spot where you are. I don't know, that kind of thing. Anyways, now why did I say all that? The broker's test. And so, and I keep hearing this constant theme on the side. It's this very closed society, Asians are very closed or whatever. And so there's an echo chamber. And there's a phrase I always hear: people taking the test 6 to 7 times. And when I took the notary test, I heard that phrase again. People that take it, and I was like, oh. And when I was there, there's people 5 or 6, and you understand, like I'm the only. Hey, what's up? Being in Hawaii, most of the people that take that test are not Polynesian or Native or people of color, right? And so there's just like stacks of people there, primarily Asian. And you speak to them, oh, this is my third, this is my fourth time. And I was like, for real? Yeah. I was like, fuck. And so I walk in there, and the proctor was there, was really cool. He's also Asian, so you got this. It's very dynamic. A lot of different types of Asians. Cool, racist, whatever. And all that stuff, whatever. But my progress school is just gave me pencil, whatever. They sort of like recognize, who I am. Very subtly small island, and he knew I was gonna pass. I knew I was gonna pass, but 80% of the other people didn't think I was gonna pass. It's like, and so of course I passed. I'm a first try. But the thing is, you hear this phrase, and it sticks with you, and you file and compartmentalize in the back of your mind. And I heard the phrase come up again. And so it's a constant theme over here. But to me, when I hear that phrase in that certain way, I definitely have this associated thing. And I do take it a little bit personally. You know what I mean? Because you got that initial racism that you can't obtain or whatever, right? But with the broker's test, why I was bringing up the past story, it's just like I've kind of feel it again. Like, this is a difficult thing. Why would it be a difficult thing for me? I don't understand it. I'm talking about, like, to me, it's almost incomprehensible. If this is a closed society, why would you think that? Because if it's a closed society, you would know I'd be able to take the test with relative ease. Other than the fact you would have to acknowledge that the constructed view of me is so negative, and you're trying to hide that. You know what I'm talking about? And if that constructed view of me is very negative, then you have to acknowledge to outside people, the federal government, that you could instantly change it. And I think that's what people are very concerned about, because they don't acknowledge it could be instantly changed. They want to make it viewed as it natural. So This test is not hard. I would appreciate it if you really related to me, as in the contents that it actually is. It's just a very straightforward thing, and it's a procedural thing. I would really appreciate it, and move on to the next thing, next chapter of my life, because there's more steps I need to get to beyond just this test. You know what I'm talking about? I mean, test is test. The regurgitation of information is so easy. I mean, when I watch, YouTube and you see the same stuff over and over again, it's just reformatted in a certain way. And it gets really tedious and, watching some of this stuff when you're trying to gain more information or whatever else like that, or anything in life, whatever, because when you're dealing with a higher level of people, they could really pick up on individuals that can memorize things relatively quickly, opposed to those that could not only do that, could, take that information, synthesize it, and not just that, not just know that information, not just discern from a little bit of information that's accurate. You can't just discern from a little bit and have it inaccurate and convince people, whatever. You want to make sure that what you're convincing people is, that not only that you have that information, they can discern that information, that you could convince people. Not only that you convince those people, that you could do it, that it could be actually actionable, that they could improve their lives, that they could, that it comes of use to them. You know what I'm talking about? Not only that, that it has this moral aspect to it. No, that's just this for humanity. So it grows the community, so it grows our nation. And now we have these people that are just ultra like, oh, it's for the nation. Raw, let's run up the state cap. Oh, forget, shut the fuck up. You know what I'm talking about? Come on. And you know these things. And just knowing these things doesn't make you that person. It helps you with that. It's a good step towards it, but constantly being adjusted and accepting that adjustment is part of it too, So it's all of those things, you know what I'm talking about? And so constantly going in that direction. So it's not like this, oh, well, I convince people. Oh, I can memorize things. Oh, I know what the fuck that is. Like this, And I could I know how to display that information correctly. But what are you doing with it? Are you bettering the community? You know what I mean? You don't want to be like driving people. You want to be like driving people off the fucking cliff like lemmings and shit like that, Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, this test. This little pet peeve. The test is not that hard. Let me do what I gotta do. I'm sorry, some of you all can't. You taking it on your third and fifth fucking try. That isn't me. You know what I'm talking about? Trust me, I'll say if it's my second, third, fourth, fifth. I'm not anyways shy or whatever. I'm very assertive. That I don't know. I remember when I used to be shy. 11, 12. I don't know. Maybe a month or so when I moved into the Jersey Shore from North Jersey, adjusting a little bit, but I wasn't shy. I just came back for a few weeks or whatever, and I was like, okay, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit of a culture shock, dealing with so many white people or whatever. It's just like, wow. And you're not supposed to say that, oh, white people, Yeah, it's just like, here you are, just a small group of, like a handful of Puerto Ricans and Latinos, 1, 2 black people. I think there's like 1 half black, 1 half white person. Everybody else was white, what I mean? It's just like, 1 Filipino, couple, like 3 Japanese, Chinese. There's a handful of people. And everybody else was white. And it's weird, what I'm talking about. It's like having a big German population down there. You deal a lot like Nazism, and the people that helped you, was a very contingent of and I've realized it now. I constantly like analyze it, like these Irish, and the reason why they didn't like them is because I was told, a lot of them are genders, they were too white. And so you had these white people that are hated because of white. and they reach out to Puerto Ricans, and we reach out to them. Then I sort of realized indirectly. I didn't realize it like years later, and I sort of kind of realized it then because they would think that they're racist, and some of them were, most of them, very outgoing, whatever. Because here we are, we're outgoing social people, and we have this vibe going back and forth, whatever. But it's because they look more Nazism and Aryan than these Germans who are, some of them have brown eyes and everything else like that and brown hair. And so it really shook up, the society. I wouldn't say shook up the pot, whatever, but it turned society on edge, made people realize how they look at the world. And I think being so young, a lot of them become less racist because of it, because they were exposed to a different culture and in a manner that made them realize that they weren't perfect themselves or whatever, right? And here there is people that are not racist, talking about, but hey, you don't like them because they're overly pale, you know what I mean? So it's just like, and so even now today, it's just like, and I could mean like countless instances or whatever of like back and forth, But the thing about it is, and don't get me wrong, there's also people always wanted to influence Puerto Rican a lot, saying it's like about people want to be like we control Puerto Ricans or white people want to be like that, and they influence a lot because we're very social and that aspect of it, and they want to gain some of that attention. And I could get into like all little details, but a lot of it is just like I'll take it from a personal standpoint or whatever. It's just like instead of calling me native, like if someone was like wanted to be like, oh, I'm Arab or from Moroccan or whatever, that way, like a black person could be like, well, he's not fully black, whatever, Puerto Rican's not fully black, and they have some kind of leverage over us. And so Puerto Ricans are very aware of that, very conscious of that, I'm talking about. So that's why you see that always shouldering, I'm talking about historically in the past, I'm saying? You don't see that now, whatever, too much, whatever, but you still see some of that. And same thing with white people. Would want to say that because they would have leverage over me. I'm talking about? Because maybe they could rug pull it. And so these influences, whatever, to try to always control the Puerto Rican community to make us seem not native and something other than Spanish or whatever, and take that out, I'm talking about? And so there's also that aspect, don't get me wrong, there's also from the white community, whatever, but what we readily accepted was that Irish people have more to give to us than so if there was influence, we'd rather accept it more from the Irish community because they could guard against other white people, I'm talking about from they're absolutely this Nazism shit, what I'm saying? And that's just a fact or whatever. Because us saying we're native is this very like I want to see, how you always view the other sides of pussies. They're intimidating. It's scary to them. So I don't, and just saying it's scary to them because I know instantly want to say us are the people who are afraid and they want to be like, oh, we could intimidate, Puerto Ricans and everything else like that. And you really, and that's very confrontational, whatever. So I want to move away from those words, whatever. So, but unfortunately, we're very simple people and we look at it like that. But I wouldn't say intimidated, but it was very concerning to them because now when you talk about being native, then as soon as you say that, well, there's your independence-minded, sovereignty, Puerto Ricans that just want to segregate from the United States and from their own colony. You got these people that wanted to become a colony. And so they wanted to attack that feeling, that vibe. You're not native. You're something other than native, I'm talking about to all of us, and it's just like, and it's just their attack on just the whole culture, um, and so it's just like you could still be for statehood and still think you're native, but you're not dealing with this high mentality thing. You got simple-minded people. It's just like, oh, everybody says, you're native and it's one and the same. We got to hate them. We got to, degrade them, take away the message, talk about undercut the message, and it's just like, here you are as a kid, talking about, it's just like my first day moving into like Seaside. No, not, it's not my first day, but into Tom's River East. I'll be like, oh, I'm Native American. Second, and I realized get say to the bloom of my face because as soon as I walk away, oh, he's just one of those Puerto Ricans. And I'm talking about, and so and it's just like whatever, I mean, it's like, and what's wrong with one equal rights, I'm talking about. So, like so, but the thing is, state is going to happen, and so don't get me wrong, I was definitely, you know, you look at it and you don't really understand politics back in the day, but you realize a lot of this was a very political, thing, but you're too young to understand it, to comprehend it, that these attacks on you were political. It wasn't anything you personally did, It's just because of who you are, your skin color, and because you are native, And the thing is that the more people articulate their viewpoint and they say that it's because I'm native, there's a blowback, so they try to obscure that it's because I am native. And I don't know, just me being hardened and almost emotionally detached from these attacks, whatever, after a while, So I could sort of kind of analyze it, It's always constant, But I think since statehood's going to happen, no matter what your viewpoint of independence, sovereignty, or whatever, almost without skipping a beat, land needs to be protected. Those policies and laws need to be already put into place. So nature reserves are already there. They're already expanded. So it's you have to go through a certain process to make, for further development or anything. So, as soon as other people come in, they're not going to care. Like, fuck, we'll just develop that. We'll just take this, whatever. So how that looks like, I'm not exactly sure. People who were residents of Puerto Rico before statehood, I was definitely thinking a reservation type of independent council encapsulated within the state. So that type of thing. But there needs to be some kind of legal framework within that. So all of Puerto Rico is a state, but 99.9% of it is a reservation. That kind of, what I mean? So I mean, it's all I look at it. You know what I'm saying? So, but there definitely needs to be a legal protection entity, some legal entity that protects the island. Because no one else is. And that goes into the fact that people want to influence Puerto Rico because it's exotic for whatever the reason, however it came about. And it has to do with a lot of independence. And, when you're pushed down, you need to assert yourself more. You need to articulate yourself more. You need to convince people know of your cause because you're correct. So that culturally brings out a certain personality. And as a whole, not everybody is always out there and sociable, but I think definitely in New York you had that type of thing going on and going back and forth to Puerto Rico. I don't know. I don't get into all the social stuff, whatever. How I think, a personality developed culturally, whatever. That's all. These stuff and argumentative to hear and to whatever. But that's my thought. So, because without a strong consensus, almost like what's the word? Not filibuster proof, but super majority. You need a super majority to get a lot of these things passed for things to be preserved and certain ordinances for protection of rights, nature or preserves, whatever. So do it now before statehood and get all those things already ready in the books, because once it becomes a state, it will already be ripped down. So that's my thinking. Anyways, moving on. Could be a lot of opinions, so well, it's just fine. From the Jersey Shore, because I think like definitely growing up at Jersey Shore, it's just like sort of realized how argumentative things are in the Latino community, and like I guess I was very blessed that both ways, but it was very. I didn't have to deal with a lot of other things. A lot of other people I had to deal with. I had to deal with, and I had to deal with a lot of people. Other people did not deal with. But in regards to, because we want to view us like we're always fighting, I guess. And hey, you want to look at that like it like that. But if I say like this other group of this other family, really, Puerto Rican is down the street and like maybe by like Island Heights or in Seaside, and it's just like it's another like gang or whatever, but it wasn't like that. It was just another family, and they sort of viewed the world the same way as you, but their interests were just like different. So it wasn't like the gang or whatever, but people would sometimes viewed it as that. Now that's kind of frustrating because it's like we're all involved in some kind of like nefarious things, whatever. But you don't have this internalized view that they think exactly like you. So you just want to go over and be like, oh, okay, is this how you also think like this? You just know not to be like everybody thinks like this. Don't go, whoa, go to Bronx and everybody thinks like this. And you go to Jersey City, everybody, Newark, everybody, it's just like, okay. And that's just that's my point. So you always I think that's what builds into like the consensus, because you always want to be like, and it wasn't like this like confrontational type thing or whatever. Sometimes it was. And everybody gets like, oh, big face. And but a lot of the times is people are just cool as hell and just know it's different and whatever, what I mean? So that kind of thing. And because you run into like, oh yeah. What the fuck, dude? I could just, then you're just like, all right, I'll touch base, whatever. Let me make sure, go and talk to this person, whatever else like that, So I'm walking along, whatever, what I mean? That kind of thing, So it's just like, I wouldn't say it's awkward or whatever, but, it's just like, but that kind of thing. And so you subtly, or whatever, you just always want to touch base with people. I guess maybe in that even draws out your personality more, because you always want to draw a consensus, whatever. Because people aren't shy, they aren't, they're not like holding back or whatever. Like they're, and it's just normal, I'm talking about. So, but and cool, and so I was blessed by a lot of it was cool, whatever. But I'm talking about. But I remember a lot of times be like, no, Supreme, blah, blah, blah. Fuck, like, tell me and shit like that, you know what I mean? Fuck, that kind of thing. So I'm just saying. So all I'm just saying is my point of view. and moving on. I was watching the latest thing, whatever. Gonna have to read over my notes. But I know like Russia's like slowly mobilizing. I know we need to like slowly mobilize and giving them weapons. And I know like they're trying to draw us into like the people who support Putin and uh, Nazis within the government, trying to get us caught up into these details. So they could slowly, push against the war or whatever and change the messaging of it, whatever. So I don't want to, definitely want to push out against that, push back against that, and not be that, not become the people that you're fighting against. But how can I say this? They want the war to be viewed as something other than what it is and focus on some sort of detail to convince ourselves and just digging like there's going to be some kind of answer within some sort of detail they could manipulate or misdirect people into it, their own agenda, whatever. So you initially think probably usually correct or whatever. So just be aware of that. If you already put your mind to the problem and you figured it out, then look to see if it really changed. And so you started creeping over here and slowly, whatever. And then you convince yourselves that it's something else. You know what I mean? If the war is really about, I don't know, some other crazy shit, whatever it is. Um, that by Russia winning, it really helps out America. Come on. Oh, well, there's people that believe that, and they want to make it look like that. But anyways, I was looking at the briefing from, I know it was a Pentagon or whatever, but there's like all the weapons that we're putting in there. It's really just a stopgap. We could give them a lot of weapons and everything, but they need to produce a lot of weapons. We need to slowly mobilize our industry, whatever. So just how it is. We give them all our old stuff, all our cheap stuff, obviously, because we want all the fancy toys, new stuff, right? So now we're going to, what we should do. And the thing is, like, when you start talking about these things before I begin, you get into a lot of these social, political, military intelligence-esque type of things where you don't really want to say too much, even if it's open sourced and it's what you're discerning from that or whatever. But it's the stuff that's already happening. That you're furthering what's happening and not like hindering anything. So it's always that type of thing of knowing information and telling people, having it, understood in an effective way, and having, a moral aspect to it. And that's that part of it. So it all plays into it. But now, as a stopgap, probably what we're going to do, UAs is like, we're going to purchase weapons. Like, it's easy to purchase, weapons within NATO. But now we're going to look outside NATO and purchase weapons that are, and you want to tend towards these older weapons initially because, you sort of getting touch and feel with, it's not going to Russia, throw down nuclear bombs and shit like that. So that's why I was thinking like M60s and the AMX 30s. I know I said the Leopards and everything. And the British, was it Conqueror? That type of thing, And you send them over. And then we slowly build the next tank, next bigger, better tank, whatever it is, so. And they're saying like the tank is already outdated, and I think it was outdated since World War II. They already realized tanks were outdated. We got Battle of Barbarossa happening, sort of have one. You had a few tank on tank battles. They have one, couple big ones, and you had Kursk on the other way, right? But what they realized, a lot of it was not tank on tank. It was initially what we're saying now. We're like relearning the wheel. It's a tank on It's an anti-personnel device. It's destroying civilians. I'm talking about, it's an urban fighting vehicle. It's an anti-personnel vehicle. It's a weapons platform. That's why it had all these assault guns. And the most vulnerable part of the tank is that turret, right? So they cheaply just put a gun on a tank and just slightly move it. And that's basically what it is, I mean, you could hit all these tanks in a row, but how many times are you in a position where you need to reverse the turret so quickly, or fire on the run? It's just like, okay, that's nice you could do that, but what's the sense of it? It's just like, it's over. It's not going to do what it's intended to do, be tank on tank. You got to look at it from what it is. It goes after other people, other infantry. Well, it goes after it goes other people. It goes after infantry primarily. And somewhere down the line, it also easily takes out tanks. So you got to look at it from the other end. It easily takes out tanks, and it's also infantry. Reverse it. They learned that back in World War II, After a while, it's like airborne stuff, right? Hitler got his ass handed to him in Crete, and like hit it, but still in our mentality, it's like, oh, you want to like fly in troops or whatever. But everybody knows that's exactly what you don't want to do. You know what I mean? But it's just like, you see the level of education of people that pay attention what happened throughout war, whatever. It's like, ooh, it's not really a good idea to do that in any situation. That's all. But still, to this day, people put that out, and just the lack of education, intelligence, that keep doing it, and that shows you what else they do not pay attention to, research, and do their homework on, But it's impressive to people, so people, that feeds into it, so you constantly have that kind of thing, that feedback, whatever. Going back and saying, well, if you're doing that to get laid, that's one thing, I get that. But don't tell other people that, it's like, I don't know. It's my thing. Um, anyways, I don't want to relearn the wheel, whatever. We already learned that by and large, tanks are outdated for a long time. Then we should know what's actually happening in war. You know, and make something for them. I mean, so I don't know. See what's working and then expand upon that. I think a lot of information coming from Ukraine, we're not doing that. We need, or like a lot of these officers die, you need to rotate them rear, have them write out reports in detail, gather them up, send them back out, have field officers come in, add on to it or whatever, and filter it up so we have more information so you know exactly what you need, what tactics are working, what weapon systems are working the best or whatever, and all that other stuff. Instead of like us looking down on it, like, oh, this, and whatever, or pretending to go up the front for a day or two, but oh yeah, I technically was up there. I know what to do. Fuck out of you, shit. You know what I mean? You, you have to be all up and down the front constantly, with the team of people. So that's how you get the information. You bring them to write it down. Have some more organized, constructive form of getting all that good information. You know what I'm saying? There's no way, man. It's just crazy and shit like that. Now, this is my thinking. I don't know. This is my personal thought. It's just like, I don't know. Like with these charades, these other that the Germans again. Oh, give them 15. All right, 15 to see how they work up at the front. I mean, it's like then if they work out good, give them like 100. You know what I mean? It's like something that'll make a difference. So you can see like so they learn it. You know what I'm saying? That's my thinking. They use the bathroom, make some coffee. And just like if you're teaching them on this anti-air and like artillery or whatever, right? And you teach them in England or Germany, where the fuck it is, France, on the Caesar, whatever the fuck it is. No, anyways, 10 days, 2 weeks, and you send them back in. I get that. And then they become trainers, but if you train them, you should always increase that level of training. Like, you got 10 people, call in a dozen people, and have 2 people stay on for another 2 weeks. So learn all the little details, and then send a team to the front line to train them while they're using it, because they're going to be using it hopefully for another 2 weeks, hopefully for a month, maybe it lasts for 3 months for the entire duration of training. So you hit them forward and coming, you train them a little bit more over here and a little bit more over there. You know what I'm talking about? And so there's 2 people that stay on even a little bit longer, can now rotate. So you gradually increase the training, gradually, at a sustainable rate over your on back end, and then you have people there contracted or training. That's how you do that. So you just want to be static. Okay, 10 days. That's it. No, got to adapt it a little bit. Constantly try to titrate it up. Anyways, the make some coffee. Actually, I was like thinking about like the whole training thing. If you're going to have people also train them while they're not in actual combat, further the training, which makes sense, you know. You can have even other weapon systems that, you know, like all the contractors for the whole entire weapon system come out and do that. They could see how it performs, make improvements, or whatever, you know. But, you know, I already talked about that before. I don't want to go back and reiterate everything again. I think the current thinking about, you know, everything is that there's is that they're being outnumbered and outgunned. And like part of me wants to be like, you want to provoke them into reacting so they waste ammo, so they shoot off whatever, and you're like, and you're able to absorb whatever. So you go in there with a probing attack, make them shoot off, and that's what you should be doing. Any chance you get, like, and you know you're not gonna sustain any kind of like casualties or equipment. You make them send off any kind of ammo because they're slowly going to deplete what Russia has. Well, one time it's going to do it, two times, but if you got that mentality for everybody up at the front, if nothing else, and you know you're safe, make them shoot back at you and waste ammo. And if you have that happens millions and millions of times on a micro level, it's going to add up. You know what I'm talking about? Fucking, you got to make sure. I mean, you just don't fucking do it, you know, for no reason. Because you're draining the economy, right? You're slow, you know, because all the sanctions, you have the sanction having more effect or whatever. But a little bit risky, but I'm just saying, you know, have a couple like crazy shit, like just a random scenario. Have a bunch of jeeps and doom buggies like they did up in the raid at, was it Tobruk up in Tunisia, whatever, where the fuck that was, you know, by the British. You know, it came behind jeeps, you know, fire off a bunch of weapons, and they're throwing down whatever amount of resources to stop it, and they're already out. You know, so you come in, you drop it off, make it look like there's a bunch of people there. Now they're dropping artillery and shit like that. You're out. That kind of thing. I was thinking doom buggies and shit like that, you know, but I don't know why. Then I was thinking, you know, the British coming in with a raid and stuff like that. But totally not applicable. But some sort of scenario where you're making them just go absolutely fucking crazy, wasting a bunch of shit, and you're safe, you know what I'm talking about, and you escape with no losses. I guess that's where that came from. So because, you know, here I am saying, oh, this is a brilliant idea, and then it's shot in the face and shit like that. You know? I'm just saying. But you do that on a lower level, you're feeding into it. But what I was getting at is, you know, if you're in a position where you're rationing artillery rounds, that's not good. So if there's like one thing is like artillery rounds, they need a lot of. Now it's like, oh well, Excalibur rounds, this rounds or whatever. I'm not gonna get into all that stuff, whatever. But I know they need more artillery rounds. Rationing it, you know what I mean? Because the thing is, like, they have to fight handcuffed or whatever, and the Russians don't. They're literally, whatever round, kick the fucking artillery round over, drop another round over. Dude, totally fucking the other way, whatever. They don't care. And they have that luxury, you know what I'm talking about? It's just like, you got on the other side, don't care who it hits or whatever, destroy the fucking town, you know? It's like, this side, you gotta be more accurate, whatever, but sometimes you want to use it to suppress fire, you want to use it liberally. Boom. That's more rounds, however they do it over there, And I don't know, you just don't have it, and so that's why I was looking at what happened in Severodonetsk. On one hand, it's just like, if they have enough artillery rounds, yeah, but if we don't, you can't really defend it. You can't really do too much, So I was very hesitant to say anything without artillery rounds, and that kind of thing. So, in my opinion. Then, like, but what I do know is the next set of bunker systems for the fucking Russians to get there. Make sure it has all those supplies, medical supplies, ammo. Already has fortifications all around it, it's already dug and all that good stuff, how barbed wire and that kind of thing. Whatever else. Whatever, I don't know. There's a little bit of a luxury, but anyways, my point is have all the already have stock water, that kind of thing. And it's nice, so you don't have to think about it the last second. Well, this would have been a good idea, and already be like, nah, civilians can't be in here. Nope, this is not. You needed to evacuate, and so you use it as a waypoint. They stop in the fucking bunker, and be like, nope, this is a military outpost, whatever. You got to be rotated as quick as possible to the rear, that kind of thing. Because, like I said, Russians are using civilians not just as fodder, but as a weapon. They're forcing them into the Ukrainian armed forces to eat up resources and time and energy and movement, so they had to deal with civilians. So they had to fight even more handcuffed and decrease their capabilities and food, water, and everything else like that. So they can't be in these shelters. So they're driving them forward. They're killing any potential resistance in that. And so it's really, we're having Ukrainians, and we're slowly creeping into that, making them fight a handcuff war. Can't go into Russian territory. You can't deal with, you got to absorb the civilian attacks or whatever, what I'm talking about. And that's sort of Russian sympathizers and supporters and Nazis in our government know this, and they're trying to gradually creep that into whatever. So there needs to be a greater outlook about how do we not handcuff the Ukrainians. Talk about. So that is a discussion that is far beyond what I want to get into, because I'm not saying I'm not prepared for it. I just haven't written down on it, but I know that's definitely there. How much, I don't know, but you don't want to get this so detailed where you're not seeing the bigger picture. So the Ukrainians could win, and slowly constricting them, legally or morally, politically, or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's just my thinking, because Russians are fighting an all-out war. And, the Ukrainians need to be able to beat it with that exact force, and like I said, it's something of higher level to deal with, but I'm just saying. when I figure that problem out or have something deeper to say upon it, I'll say it then, you know. But no, because you know, as soon as they are going to put, they're going to try to push for political pressure to make a ceasefire eventually. So what the Russians are going to do, they're going to use that time to be like, we want peace. They're going to start mobilizing even deeper, you know, out of sight, out of mind, or whatever. Redouble it, you know, because what they said, like, the war is going to happen, like, I guess not in surges or in these epochs, or these cycles, or whatever. So we're going to have a steady and heightened activity. Everything's going to be weaponized. And what they're just trying to do is just shake up the Ukrainians in the West just enough so they decrease their capability. So when they hit it with the next wave, they can make more gains. You know, so handcuff to you more. So these people have more morals and ethics than we do. We use that against them. We use everything we can against them. And because they're in mind by not adhering to morality and ethics, that's stronger for them, that's powerful for them. They're the fools. We're smarter, we could outsmart them. Not thinking that these ethics and moralities is a lot more difficult to attain, and humanity, for the betterment of humanity, is something a lot more difficult to be, you know, than just being everything for myself, right? So, no, that's my thinking. So, as soon as there's a ceasefire, people better start maneuvering as you know, as fast as you can. You know, honestly, you got to weaponize the ceasefire as much as you can. You know, and attack back. You know, because I'm beginning to have this mentality of if they think Ukraine is weak and they can push on them, they'll push for more, obviously. But to the fact that if they could get away with using a nuclear bomb, they will. And I don't want them to think they could get away with using it. You know what I'm saying? So Ukraine needs to do that. But like, these Ukrainians, man, we don't want to fuck with them, man. We're trying to fool them. We're trying to do this. They're trying to do that. Fuck if we use a nuclear bomb. You know what I'm talking about? That kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? That's my current thinking. And so people were like, you know how like Putin supporters, it's like you don't want to provoke them or using nuclear bomb or whatever. Shut the fuck up. Always thinking, you know, it's just like, really, you know what I'm saying? It's, you're not fooling anybody. You know, you steadily support Putin, you know. You could do both, not fucking, you know, provoke Putin into using a nuclear bomb and help Ukraine at the same time. Have this moving, this moving, this moving, this moving, and you just want some overriding thing to like intimidate. You know, say this nuclear, you know, bomb. You intimidate everybody. Shut the fuck up. And that's why I was thinking with these M60 tanks and these older tanks. You know, there are last gen, X generation weapons, whatever. So I don't know, that kind of thing. Because the thing about it is, right, like these tanks, I mean, granted, we already got a mentality of heavy battle tanks and then main battle tanks, but I guess if you had to look at it like in a world of tanks type of thing, these M60 would really be like a medium tank. It's not going to be a heavy tank. You could take some damage and has a gun, a big gun on it. And now everybody wants to be like, well, you know, these M16s, you know, they'll be obliterated. You're looking at two on paper, regurgitating what other people say or whatever, you know. It's not like someone's gonna shoot a fucking 50 cal and the shit burns up into flames and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's like a Sherman tank back in World War II. Like a Firefly, really. We could get it like a Firefly, put a big ass gun on it. or that's what it is now with the Saber upgrades, right? And it's comparable. It can take a pretty decent amount of damage from any infantry or whatever, and has a big ass gun. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a heavy tank by any sense, but it's basically a medium tank. You know, what the Sherman was. And the Shermans, by having a lot of them, were able to outdo the Germans, especially when he put a bigger gun. And then, of course, the first to do was the Fireflies, and then we picked up on it for the most famous of the Fireflies, right? And then we're gradually put a bigger gun on it and do the same thing. But and that was very effective. You know what I'm saying? Because it protected from small arms fire. Primarily, that's what you get. That's what I was thinking. So I don't know. I don't want to relearn the wheel all the time, but if you put out A1 Abrams, then that's like looks more directly. But if you put out its package as something that's not all that effective, but it really is effective, you know. So all intents and purposes, it has the strength of an A1 gun because a lot of it also is in ammo also, all right? And some of these upgraded fucking guns are in all but name as powerful as the Abrams tank, but you're not really going after other tanks anyway. It's anti-personnel. So I'm just saying, because these Israeli packages and everything they got with the M60 tanks. And you gotta look at it like that. I mean, instead of trucks and cars having heavy weapons attached that basically serve as, mobile weapons platforms, these can be defended against small arms and heavy personnel weapons. So what's going to defend you more? A car with a fucking Dushka on it, you know what I mean? Or a fucking M60 tank with a 50 cal and a big gun that shoots out some HE and it could take a pounding from a Dushka, you know what I'm saying? And a heavy machine guns. And they're old as fuck, you know what I'm talking about? And so we know them like the inside of our hand or whatever, so we get those people out there and be reliable. That's another thinking. But anyway, see, it's all a snap guy because we would have to like use wherever they are in the world to buy them up and shove them there. And we got to find that's only going to resolve the situation till we figure out to really what to produce. That's the only thing that's really going to resolve it. Have Ukrainian production capability increased and find out what we can produce, whatever that is. Latest package of M16. We push into some new tank, bigger, greater tank. And we just say the 40-year-old Abrams is what we could give them. You know what I mean? So it all depends. See, we're already upgrading our tanks, and we give them our Abrams. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, Defense Production Act something. And if we slowly have to mobilize and we're gearing towards a war, that's beyond our control. Pretending like it's not there is not going to help us out. But they want to have the United States believe there's not going to be war or whatever else like that. Or even use slow the mobilization of war to their advantage or whatever. So if we're going into the recession, you could use this slow mobilization for people to have jobs, and you could blunt that a little bit. That dip in the recession. The thing is, got to find something that doesn't give away secrets or whatever and all that other stuff, right? So I mean, the thing is about these M60s, you could, and there's all these packages you could put on it, and if there's other countries' packages, they've already been out there for a while, so you could give them to Ukraine, and it doesn't hurt the United States, at all. They're already on an old fucking tank, and they've already been around the world, so of course the Russians are going to know about it, so it's not intimidating to them. Like all these other packages, realities came up with them. You should know about it. Shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? Don't tell me, this is, our latest and greatest or whatever, It's like you should have seen these things already. You deal with them, shove in more, like 200 more of them or whatever. Some shit to them. So I'm just saying, so if other people come with the packages for the M60s, upgrade packages, you'd be all right. It's not ours, you're right. Now we're not giving away of our stuff. I mean, they're old as hell, but they could do the job of serving as like a close-in artillery piece, right? And do it well. Protecting the infantry while firing a big fucking round to kill the personnel. Well, vice versa, protecting the infantry from heavier guns. And since they've been around, at least on paper, they have a lot of attachments, So we probably have to pick out a model or the next tank that we do that's not intimidating or whatever. I mean, we'll have our own thing. Because they're probably going to make the Ukrainian tank, but if we made some sort of tank, whatever it is, these tanks that we give them are going to have a short lifespan anyway, so. And it's just a stopgap. It's crazy. Like, whatever we give them, whatever the tanks, they probably just have to move just good enough to be used in battle, and then they get destroyed. It's pretty nuts. And all this thinking and all this stuff is just basically for an assault gun. As it to attack fortification, to move around rubble, to destroy rubble, blast that rubble, to move it over here, and to blast it again, move it over here. And it's just like nuts, you know what I mean? Just like, so you're trying to get all these things for it just to get destroyed. It's just like, it's nuts, man. Yeah, they need to cause as much damage as possible. Again, as anti-personnel to infantry to other heavy weapons. And of course, even the occasional tank. And you see, like in Germans, these assault guns and everything, the Stone Panzer and everything, the Stug, and we had the T95. British had like the Turtle, those type of things. But I think like the Stug was really effective only because it had like an old chassis and they're all laying around. And what the Germans realized is it's like they're all coming from this direction. Sort of a bunch of these tank destroyers that don't move their turrets or whatever, right? Too much, a little deflection, 15 degrees this way and that way. But you have them all lined up and they're all coming this way. They don't need to turn all the way around. They just need to adjust the fire just a little bit. It was very effective because it was used that as an assault gun. And so they indirectly learned it. And so that's what they're going to be used as. So I don't know, and it's my thinking. That's why I think like on the next generation of like AI or tanks, drone tanks, whatever, remote tanks, you're gonna see like an 777 or a paladin gun on the ripsaw, right? You got the sled, right? And so it could go parallel, right? Because if you need to get really in there, right? And then it could also double as like artillery or even mortar and go almost parallel, like 80 degrees up, fire it up, and come down, right over the building. So it could double. Not only is it assault gun close in because you want it to get close in, but it could also be artillery if need be, or a mortar, because if you get these close in to the front lines, you could shoot into the rear where their supplies are also, right? And you could shoot as anti-personnel. So it has this dual multifunctional role. And you're not going to get that with the turret. It's going to be more of a vertical thing, right? So you change that into a more of a vertical traversing, right? And the deflection will be handled by the tracks. That's my thinking. So it'll be on a sled, so come up, I don't know, future. And then have one zip, rip saw that does that, and another does this. No, I need my hair down. But whatever. But that's my thinking, right? Because you need this multifunctional, vehicle main. Why just stop it as a main battle tank? Because we want to call it a tank. We want to say it's going after another person in a vehicle that's military and another combat whatever, and they're in a tank. But it's not reality. They historically weren't used as that. I mean, look at everything. It's just support infantry. So put a paladin on per se, argument's sake, right? On this, on that chassis, the remote ripsaw, right? So it could take out tanks easily, other provocations, right, with airburst, but can be used as a bunker buster by elevating it up as a mortar, a large mortar. It could shoot over a building, shoot over a hill or a mountain, right? Go all the way up and then hit it from down and have it delayed impact, whatever, and blast up, you know? Because it's going to be destroying buildings and that kind of thing. Just how it is. It's going to be, it needs to be strong enough to move rubble, to put an explosive round into rubble. So it needs to have a big gun, you know? And that could also serve as artillery all the way into the rear. You know what I'm talking about? So it needs to have this multifunctional thing. And you can get it there, you know what I'm talking about? So it's not, just think about it is, right? I think it's tortless. That's my thinking. I think it's been proven that a turret is a thing of the past or is a luxury that's not worth it. I mean, you can have a turret, but a thing will be like a monstrous beast, and that's fine too, you know? But get over the fact that it needs to travel 60 miles an hour or whatever. Let in peace, but I don't know. That's another discussion. You need to speak to me personally on these things. Like, these are deeply involved, like theorems I have or whatever about this. Maybe it could be so esoteric that it's not even irrelevant. And then that's the kind of like conundrums I keep getting into is just like, how do I really know? You know what I mean? You have to go out there and test and get that information back. Go out there and test, get information back, constantly. Like like these body armors, you gotta have somebody that's willing to shoot the fuck out of it, come back, adjust it, shoot the fuck out of it, come back, adjust it, constantly do it. You know what I'm talking about? And get everybody on the same page. All these different companies. It's just like it's the way to do it. So that's why I don't want. I don't know. It's like I don't know, man. It's my thinking. Like you're gonna be already. Because look, you got the enemy, right? It's gonna be in some sort of, for all intents and purposes, 180 degrees. You know what I'm talking about? Even if it's you're surrounded, that circumference is basically a 180 thing, and then from in there, your approach is only gonna be like this. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. I'm just saying, it's just I don't know. I don't know how right it is. And you bring it up to destroy that bunker, you know. I don't see so many. I don't- The thing is, you just don't have one. I guess, like, if you have just one tank, it's good for have a turret. I know it's really like counterintuitive. It really is. And if it's, yeah, maybe back in the day when our tracks weren't as reliable, what happens they break down? It's like, I think we got a point where we got pretty reliable. Now they're computer controlled, so they could fire. You know, in a picture like this, you got a bunch of these ripsaws with Pelican guns that could level their guns, kill tanks, kill a bunker, shoot it near vertical, and be a bunker buster. And now if it could be used in artillery, they're all linked to the same computer, right? Say it's all linked to the same computer, and you can put a geolocation in something, and then they're doing their own thing. And be like, hold up, can you have this assault gun put in this fire mission for just a minute or two, whatever, or every so often, fire up on that, it could instantly this wherever it's at, in the rear a little bit, fire up, and you got like 10, 20 of them, all of this, wherever they're at, is all coming in from different angles, firing all at once, what I'm talking about? And now they're going back to each respective areas of where they get a handle, as dropping in mortars and killing bunkers, or fortification tanks, vehicles, whatever, that kind of thing, all linked. So, and the thing is, like, when you have them all spread out, they're all coming in from a different way, so it's a lot better to do that, they're all linked. I don't know, I think. Either way, we need to find some kind of assault platforms, assault guns that we could produce while increasing and furthering our interest, you know, which is the main goal. Whatever we choose. But I think we're looking for like the perfect solution. It doesn't have to be perfect. Text from infantry fire and has a big fucking gun. And they're not escalatory. It's a lot of these older weapons, and that's what we're trying to do. And I think some of these older tanks, whatever they're, if we purchase them and give them to them, the American, uh, since they are older, I don't see, like I said, I don't see how it could be considered. And the thing is, like, not, I think, like, sort of like in real estate also, you do something open and notorious, um, it's not like you're trying to hide the fact. And it's just true to life, whatever. Like, if you're very open and make eye contact, and you're not shy, and you're sort of very direct, and everybody, it's easy to be passive aggressive, so you got to get out of that comfort zone. But after a while, being direct is your comfort zone, right? Now we put in these weapons, it's very direct and it's open, it's notorious, everybody can see. It's not we're hiding it. It's not like, oh my god, what did you do? Now we gotta do it. Like, we're already doing it. We're gonna be giving, tanks to these guys. Boom. You know it. Everybody knows it. What's up? And that's your attitude. That's what it gotta be. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think? You got tanks over there. We got some older tanks. Of course, we're gonna give them more older tanks. We're doing it right in front of you. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, I thought you could handle all of our old gear, all of our old toys. What's the problem? You got a problem? Come on, you can't handle all of our old stuff. Everybody's saying you could destroy the shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing. I keep seeing the regurgitated information about some of these older tanks as well as tactics or whatever. And that was used as for to convince Congress to be A1, to go up to A1s. You know, so I get that. You know what I'm saying? But it's just like people take that one information and turn it and turn it and turn it and turn it. It's like understand how that information progressed and it got changed. You know what I'm saying? That was to convince people. And by and large, it is true, whatever, but doesn't mean like these tanks don't serve a purpose, and they still serve a purpose. And this purpose is to support infantry. And blow my nose. You know, support infantry, and then occasionally they'll see another tank. And I'll see a lot of other armored vehicles they could take out, but the events Congress, you need to be like, oh, these are crappy pieces of shit, though. They're like a can opener. You know what I mean? Thing is, with these packages from the Israelis, they're less like that. You know what I'm saying? They're not like that, but the thing is, we need to say certain things to sound like we're intelligent and we're so knowledgeable about these things. And since then, and we want to always use source information. That's a problem. It's not that you just say information that's written down and it's cross-referenced, and you always want to get that. But now you get from a higher level. Like how did that? Where that source information? That source information came from this other source. It came from this other source. It came from this other source. And then you look at that source and you're like, why did that come to be? Why is everybody repeating that? Just, oh, okay. They wanted A1. Yeah, you should have given the Marines the A1s just like the fucking army, dude. Why do they have to do all this? You know, you realize that. Well, that's true, whatever, but they still have a purpose, you know, and that's why they're still being used. But that's my thinking. All I'm saying is like some tank is better than no tank. This is my mentality. Is I'm not saying just one that the M60s or these older tanks or whatever, or any one of the older tanks. All I'm saying the older tanks or some design that's even if it's a medium tank serves its purpose as protecting it from small arms and have this big fucking gun. That's the overall thing I'm trying to say. That's it. In some, you know, some manner we can keep giving it to them. That, you know, I'm talking there's that we give them something than nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't get caught up in any one of the details I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. All the other things is supported to give them a big fucking gun that could support the infantry that can move around rubble. And they could kill more of them in a protected position than they could kill themselves. Losing sight of that is then, you know, dealing with somebody that's really a Putin supporter, basically. And plus, we could say we're beating you with some of our older weapons, too. Look at our toys. Kicking your butt with our older toys. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And it's not like we're using our full capabilities. It's just we're using stuff we already made or already had, you know, because we're using all the Russian stuff. Now we're getting to some of our stuff. Obviously, we're already doing it. You know, if we really wanted to defeat Russia, we could do that, right? But yeah, we're giving them older and older stuff that we're finding everywhere in the world, right? That shuffle game, buying their old stuff and then that lend lease not just with the Ukraine but with every other country, right? You know, you buy this weapon that we sold to you because I was old. Let's take that back. We have to take that back. You know, that's our Russian thing. But we'll give you $100. We'll give you $100 million for that, right? But if you buy this newer, Abrams tank for 120, you know what I mean? How about that? You know what I'm saying? And then use that 20 million or whatever to fund the production of our new tank. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, or I don't know, whatever the fuck we got going on. The thing beyond the Abrams. You know. So buy that. Give them money, 100 million. Like, yeah, hey, you know what? I'll give you some Abrams. All right. So do that, and then we make ours. So shuffle it, moving, whatever, and all that kind of thing. Not just in NATO, but now everywhere in the world, right? Expand it. If it's working, expand it. You know, no, so. Because what's going to defeat Russia is the Ukrainians choosing to win. And we never want to get into some rut where we're just giving them just enough to fight. And we need to figure out not just the weapons, but the political structure also where they could win. You know, where they could go into Belgorod and all that other stuff, you know. Get a mentality like one step into Russia is just like, whatever. Don't do that. Don't have slow constraints and let our opposition that's not in America's best interest creep into what we think is our best interest, and it's not. We already knew defeating Russia is in our best interest. An adversarial non-democracy. We already know that. And our slow mobilization, whatever it is, like I say, could help do what our recession, you know, because we were not making interests, we're not making political decisions that were in best interest for the last 4 years, you know, so we have to overcome that. The economy went down. But, you know, a few good things happen. You know, we know how to go into a program and switch it up. So we could do that. Not be hesitant at that. With the bridges being destroyed in Severodonetsk, right? You can't really supply it, but you could rebuild the bridges. You know, they artillery struck them. They did a aerial bombardment. You could rebuild them, right? And they'll come back, and you know they're going to come back. So here's the thing, right? You set traps. So you rebuild one, two of them, right? You have redundancy, maybe even build another third, right? But you have each of these like overlapping defenses for each of these crossings, right? So if you know like a aircraft's going to come over and try to bomb it, you got your stingers already there, already at the ready. So these bridges, are they to supply Severodonetsk? Yes, but the first main thing is a trap. You know, I'm talking about that it's capture more of Russian aircraft. And then additionally, while they're still up, they supply Severodonetsk. You know, if you want to make like a wooden um, extension onto the thing, temporary or whatever, or lay down something that could temporarily keep the bridge up, some shit, or platoon bridge underneath, whatever the fuck it is to temporarily repair, right? And then you have like the radars right there, the radar radars, right? As soon as they fire onto it, you're ready to fire back on it because you already want a counter battery. It's so these bridges, it looks like they're resupplying, and they do, but they really are to cause more damage to them than to us. They're really trapped. So they have these dual purposes. So if you want to rebuild bridges to conservativeness, you can, but you gotta have it. Obviously, you gotta protect them, but already not just be like reactionary, but you want them to attack. Like, okay, come on, plane, we're ready for you. You got stingers that's going up, but make sure you have the stingers and counter battery radar is already ready there. You know what I'm talking about? So as soon as they lay down around trying to bracket their shots in, you're already firing off whatever destroying there is. You know what I'm saying? So set that trap already from the beginning, and then and the days that it's up, the months, whatever, weeks that it's up, whatever you're supplying, you know what I'm saying? And then when they don't have enough ammo to set up that trap, you pull it down or whatever else like that, you know, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? However it goes, that's my thing. Each bridge protected by artillery, anti-air, stingers, anything that flies shoots down with drones. You need anti-air. This case for drones and everything. Counter batteries, yeah. Because you know what the target is, right? It's like, where are these planes going to go? Where are they going to go to next? Where's this artillery going to drop? You know it's going to be on the motherfucking bridge. Let's get ready for them, man. It's like, what is happening here? What is going on? It's a fucking trap, man. Make them choose where they're going to attack, Shit. I'm so confused. Come at me. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? But, people do that. It's like, let me provoke him. What is he going to do? Fucking morons. And you have to deal with this retarded shit all the time, It's like, so, they don't know too much. You know what they're going to attack against them. But, just make sure you're able to do it. And you could probably cause more damage in Sort of Nest and make that bunker a little bit more, but it's just like, cause, at the bunker, that's assuming the bunker is, able to be as a staging point for more attacks, and you're grinding out more of them, they are of you, so. But when you hear shit like, there's a chemical fire at a chemical plant, it's just like, oh, well, we stopped it because we didn't want to cause a environmental damage and fucker. That's what you're going to do. Like, you want to destroy that and cause environmental catastrophe. You know what I'm saying? That's what your people are about. You know what I'm talking about? And of course, people who support Putin and Nazis want to be like, no, it's your people and their racism. It's like, if I had to deal with it, look for anything to be like, let's get that darky, whatever. Let's associate him with that or whatever. And that kind of thing. And that's what they're trying to be. No, it's them Ukrainians that want this environmental catastrophe. And damn fucking well they're doing anything to cause a chemical explosion to get them out of there. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what they want. You know what I'm saying? Fucking God knows what chemicals are in there, but they could sort of make it look like they didn't do anything and get their hands dirty and cause some sort of something to get them all out of there. Of course. Of course. You know what I'm saying? Like these simplistic attacks, like when you deal with racism, whatever, they try to like cover and veneer it with some kind of bullshit, something being legitimate. Like, oh no, we're not trying to do this. We're not trying to cause a chemical explosion to kill you all. It's like, you're not fooling anybody, you know what I'm saying? You need to see shit like that a mile away, you know. Like an old thing about when someone's trying to be like, oh well, you're not intelligent. Motherfucker, call me a spick. Come on, right here. What, you know what I'm saying? There are people that say it. You're just not one of them. You know, I'm talking about you. You're afraid to. You want to use passive aggressive tactics to be like, oh, you're not smart because of this, that, and the other. You know what I'm talking about? At least have some balls. Be like, no, you're a fucking spick. You know what I mean? Yeah, you want to destroy that fucking chemical plant to get them out of there. So my point is, hopefully the next bunker we resupply it and it's not a chemical plant too. That's the other thing. Because you're doing it at the last moment now. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be in a defending a chemical plant. But I mean, I was saying steel plant, chemical plant, steel plant, steel plant. The saying, just saying. If you say something else, I know you're lying, man. I know you motherfucking ass are lying. And like I said, these are stopgap. We need to get our supply up in a steady stream of them in. And that's another thing, man. It's like whatever we send to them, we got to do it at next level. It's like here's Poland, NATO, Ukraine, over here. And we just ship it over there, like send it, put it in Ukraine. Where it goes, we don't know. What is happening? Oh my God. It's in Ukraine. Everything's gonna be fine. I get it, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not saying that's what we're doing. But if we're gonna give it to Ukraine, we gotta now giving it to Ukraine actually has to do something else. We gotta have put contractors to grab that whatever it is and bring it to the front. Because wherever it's going, to Laiv, someone's warehouse, and want to see how many sniper rifles I got? I got like 20, 50 types of whatever. Someone's personal collection. I don't fucking know. Every different type of drone or something like that. I have no idea. But you get it to the front. You give it to Ukraine and have them carry it up there. So they're like, oh, we gave them enough anti-tank javelins to kill every tank in the world. It's like, well, I think we're gonna have to twice that, 3 times that number, but this time every supply is I'm not saying we handle the logistics for them, but we have more positive control on it, you know what I'm saying? That's my thinking. So it gets to where it's needed, because obviously if we're giving them so much, it's just falling into some deep rabbit hole or some shit, so it's like the socks thing, that I keep losing. Where the fuck did they go, man? I don't know. Someone walking around with one sock on there. Let's see what kind of sock. Of course, I got my Nike socks. Got my special Lucio socks. Got my Gears of War socks. Got my Iron Man socks. My, super comfortable shit. I'm saying. I don't know, whatever tank it is. It could also double as a tractor. Like the one thing we would probably want is to actually put one of those little tractor type of hooks in the back. So you could literally carry more weapons, more ammo, that kind of thing. Especially when you're in urban combat or whatever, right? You have all these vehicles doing their thing or whatever. You just want to grab it. It's probably like the only thing I could think of accessory that we could put on whatever we give to them. So they could have some kind of like trailer or something like that. You could just jury rig up there, you know, that kind of thing. I was just thinking because racks for javelins actually take out tanks, effectively. At those ambulance stingers, even 60 millimeter mortars, drones, and other battle equipment. Because we keep thinking about like, well, you have the tank, whatever, and it's moving rubble, attacking fortified positions. And then I was thinking, like, how can you get that's very vertical, how can you get over and indirect fire and be mortars? Then I was thinking, like, if you have a problem with artillery, is there more heavier mortars, like 105s and 120s, whatever it is we have? And then you can put that on a drone and it'd be a little bit more precise. And then you're like, do you have enough drones? All these other little things you just don't know about unless you have that information coming up from the front. Like, so you make all these assumptions and you just don't know, what I'm talking about. So I say one thing, you just don't know. You say another thing, you just don't know. You know what I mean? And you see all the information before you. And what is most important, and what is the same stuff that everybody else sees and regurgitated the same, just said a different way. So you can only know so much, I'm talking about, and what's in front of you. And how accurate it is, what I'm saying? It's like, and, well, how good is it doing? How good is it doing? The information that you are picking up from this, Because that's your overall goal, is for you to say something for the benefit of humanity. And it's just like, you're picking up this one thing. And you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it just sort of frustrates me. So that's why I like first beginning the war, you had something to contribute, to pick up on things quicker. Then as experts started to come in that know this, it's like, all right, I'm good. You only do it, now when there's something to say, whatever. The tanks that we give them, like we keep looking, like something is better than nothing. So we really look at what these things are. They're basically close-in rebel debris movers, I'm talking about, and how they move is with the HE, high explosives. They're basically close-in destroyed building movers using high explosives to take out people, person by person, by blasting rubble back and forth. Over there, over here, over there, over there. And the thing about it is, whatever we do give them, find these old tanks, wherever they are in the world, and give it to them, it is a stopgap. But it's something that doesn't diminish our capabilities, because once we give them Abrams tanks, it's this rabbit hole, among other things. Because not only how much do we give them till it diminishes our capability, and once China sees that it diminishes our capabilities, they will attack our interests or us. So buying other tanks in the world is to our advantage. And so we could gradually produce, or Ukraine produce, tanks on their own at a steady rate. And then we give them Abrams. And if we are building a tank for the Ukrainians, right, these heavy equipment, and then if you really think about it, if we slowly mobilize our defense production, we could, before they even start, we could gradually introduce other parts that will also be on our new vehicle. So this vehicle we produce will also have this a wheel that's also going to be on our new tank. Oh, it would also have this type of kind of turret, or this kind of siding, this kind of gun, or this type of trap, whatever the fuck, wheels, something torsion, and it'll just gradually tool to the next one. So even before then, we already know, even if it doesn't, we could retool it over. As soon as the defense function, like, okay, we have this tank that we want to make, but we have to make this, but we could switch up over on that. So we're also gradually mobilizing, retooling for our other tanks, not just where we're giving to where the fight is now, but it's already right there, ready to go, so it can be switched over, if not already made for that new tank, or if we're into the old tank we're building, what I'm saying? So you do kill two birds with one stone. You're gradually mobilizing, getting ready for putting our new tank, the Beyond one, the Abrams, whatever that big tank is, or main battle tank. And the thing is, like, some of these older tanks, if you want to build the older tanks, they're old, we know them like the back of our hand. There's so many schematics everywhere. Everybody knows them, so you're not really saying, provoking anything. But just at the tail end of the computer age, just the tail, they were being produced they were being produced. The tail end of them being produced was at the beginning of the computer. So there's schematics that are there. So we could get them. You know what I mean? The tail end of the computer age. What age are we in now? I have no idea. Social media age. We are in the social media age. God help us all. You did not just tweet that about me. How am I going to survive? No, you all think the craziest, nuttiest thing. Well, what am I going to do? My feelings are hurt. I can't go on. I mean, like, it's just social media age, huh? I don't know, it's so fucking hilarious. I don't know. Okay, I got something. I don't know. I haven't read this entirely, but I wrote it down. I'm gonna read it how I wrote it down. So hopefully this makes sense by the time I'm done and things didn't change by the time I wrote it down. Logic, double quotes, and it says double quotes do that. Shit, it says do that. There we go. It says do that. Some big guns are better than no big guns. I am done. No. Okay. Whatever we do, some of these older that we purchase for Ukraine and shuffle around our older equipment that are in other armies, and then we backfill them, not just in NATO, but hopefully would expand upon it. That's what I'm getting at. You know, somewhere in the Amazon there's a tank. I don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? Get the get that bazillion tries, man. He's shooting arrows at. They just need to be put back together and be able to run just long enough to get destroyed. No, to do what their job is. We know their survivability is short term in urban combat. We know their survivability is short in urban combat. Again, the logic. Why, if there are all these just heavy equipment in general, right? Tanks, including tanks. If they're going to get destroyed so quick, then what is the point? It's like, yeah, you know, we're gonna give them, they're gonna get destroyed, you know. So all these old tanks, they're crap, they're gonna get destroyed, not worth anything, they're just a big gun. It's like, but now you're getting to the logic of war itself. If things weren't gonna get destroyed and killed, then there'd be no war. We send in these big guns to do as much damage they can in as short as period as possible before they get destroyed. And why are we doing this? Opportunity. That's the why. This is where the fight is. This is a focal point in our history. It's where we can kill the enemy. This is where what we give them will do more damage to them, to us. And we want to give them to a manner and to people where they'll be able to do that. In the role they were designed to do is supporting infantry. And they will. The why is here. And you have to get out of that thinking of these old tanks. They will do more damage than they will receive. And these guns are the means to do so. These tanks, these older tanks. All this made sense if this all followed some algorithm that all linked up and was a perfectly fitting puzzle. We wouldn't have war, because then things would make sense. This is something that goes, it's counterintuitive to how we think, you know. The deeper we look into it, like, we're trying to organize this chaos as much as possible. And why we say things during this period without war, and why we say things during a period of conflict, we have to acknowledge that. And that's the whole fucked up logic, man. You know, we have to send these things in to get destroyed. And where do we draw that line? And that line is, it's not a line, it's a big gray threshold until this and that. And we just try to do as much as we can, just keep sending in equipment. And we can't just say we're not going to send in 10. Though, of course, in the long run, it will come down to supply. So anything we give them is a stopgap until we produce something, and they already produce something. Like I said, the Germans in World War II find out they needed assault guns, and we are relearning it. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Anyways, I'm out. I have to get ready. I have to go over to the VA, do a little something. Thank you for helping me wake up, and let me go do what I gotta do. Gotta pass this test. Go to Ukraine. And peace. Take it easy. Become a better person. Bring out the best in people. All right.